Hey, Ricky, how's everything going, brother?
Everything is good, man. How you doing?
Doing good, man. So, Ricky asked a really great question a couple days ago. He asked two of them. He asked about how to use drops of balance and then also how to get rid of the hay smell in the curing process. If you haven't checked out our monthly membership, for as little as $2.99, your questions get bumped to the top. We also have an additional silver and gold war chest for the right for free speech to be able to give you open and honest reviews. Please go ahead and check them out if you're interested. Yeah, and I think we cover the drops balance. It's just 1 ml per gallon. If you're using tap water, make sure to pH it properly. Under 7, ideally probably around 6.3 before you add in the drops of balance. If you're using tap water, and then add in the rest of the fertilizer, and then from there we kind of just manage what if there's a deficiency or toxicity, and dependent upon whether you're using a salt base or biologically alive soil, those things will kind of alter and adjust based upon the amount of nutrients you're giving. So we'll get into that conversation more one-on-one, but I wanted to talk into the hay smell and kind of get everyone's opinion on why they think there is a hay smell, because I have an opinion on that one too, but it's not definitive and it's not exact. I'll throw mine out there real quick, and then please, there's no stupid thought process to this one. I think everyone wants to get rid of this process or get rid of the smell. And so my couple things is my primary is flower density ratio compared to chlorophyll on the flower. That's my thought process of why there is a haze smell, and I think predominantly that comes from harvesting too early. I think I could be wrong, but that's where I think it comes from. Secondary, it comes from using salt-based fertilizers and I think that really comes into a primary of toxicity versus deficiency in nitrogen. I can see that as being a possibly again, it goes more into like it takes longer for that chlorophyll to break down. And if it's a toxicity, we're kind of discussing again maybe that thought process around ratio of chlorophyll to flower ratio and the essential oils. Obviously, the essential oils will play a part too. If you grow an unhealthy plant, you're going to have less terpene profile and so on. Dave, Ricky, any of you guys, what do you guys think about that?
From my experience, I feel it also has to deal with the initial curing process. So from the moment you're cutting it off and beginning that drying part of it, I found if it dried way too fast in that initial dry, those sugar leaves and the main leaves, it seems though like the plant needs that time to break down the chlorophyll, and let the enzymes take control, and it's a super important. So especially with the curing, for me, if it cures too quick, then I find that more of that chlorophyll is left and suspended and not being properly processed by the curing process. So where the flower is naturally preserving itself for preservation, and also using what's left in that. And also definitely cultivar, in my opinion, some of them that are just more dense with sugar leaves and higher amounts of nitrogen later in the flowering process before curing.
Okay, so kind of just talk about that a little bit more. And tell me if I heard this properly, and if I didn't, please fill in, Dave. So basically, you're talking about them curing too fast. So it possibly drying out on the outside and staying a little too moist on the inside, causing with more moisture in the center being an oxidation process. I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to just think and throw things out there, right? If it's curing too fast, because when you cure too fast, you expose the outside to an outside environment very quickly. And so I kind of see that too as possibly being an issue too. In addition to what you're thinking with that is I'm trying to find a picture of a breakdown of the actual chlorophyll molecule. Here, this is a good one. All right. Do you see my screen? So this is what everyone wants right here. The head of this, the chlorophyll molecule. So if you kind of think about this, it's not the leaf, it's not any of this. These are cellulose. It's not the waxes. It's just this little tiny tip right here. Think about that, right? So if someone's hand trimming, right, do you think it could be real easy to possibly chop off or degrade those terpenes?
What's the ideal temperature and humidity for drying it?
Around 60 degrees, and your humidity is going to be roughly 45% to 55%. And I play with it actually. If I want it to slow down, if I want to slow down, like not dry as fast, I'm going to turn down the machines and I'm going to allow the humidity to creep back up, because the moisture from the center of the flowers is seeping back out to the outside, kind of like how you cook meat, right? Do you cook meat super high up at 500 degrees, or do you cook it at a slower heat from the inside out? I'm vegetarian, but how do you guys cook meat? Is that how you cook meat? Is that how you guys cook meat? Really, I'm asking. I'm trying to relate to meat eaters, so.
It depends on what you're doing. If you want to sear it.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, low and slow is normally good.
Okay, low and slow is normally good for the parasites and making sure to thoroughly cook the meat, all those other reasons. So it's the same thought process for drying, right? It's a slow cure. So you're allowing the moisture from the center of that flower to be sucked out because there is a surface tension that's slowly happening on the outside. And so it's sucking the moisture from the center outside, if that makes sense. If you dry it too fast, then it will create a surface tension on the outside, and then it will trap moisture in the center of that flower, and there more oxidation process will happen. So when you crack it open, it's green on the outside and brown in the center. We want to remove the oxygen from the environment. And you guys have heard me share this video a few times about nitrogen and why I recommend the cocoon process. When the leaves are breaking down, it's naturally releasing nitrogen back into the atmosphere through the denitrification process, if I'm saying that properly. And is creating a nitrogen-rich environment, pushing the oxygen out away from the center of that flower. And that's my theory. That's my thought process. Obviously, I'm not a scientist, but when I think about basic stuff breaking down, I can embrace that. I like embrace that thought process. And then when you trim it off, you are speeding up the oxidation process. So you're actually speeding up, all that stuff, and also degrading it too. So like next time, like open up a bag after it's been trimmed, like a plastic bag. What do you see on the outside of that bag?
Moisture.
Well, I mean, after you dried it and you pick up an ounce bag to buy, like you bought it or whatever, a plastic bag, or even the foil bags. What do you see on the outside, the bag in the center, right? Do you guys see all the crystals?
Yeah, the trichomes.
Yeah. The trichomes, right? There's an electrical charge on those bags that are literally like a magnet and pull them off of the freaking flower. And it's not just through it being around it, but it's through this, positive, negative charge process through the plastic or through the foil. So again, kind of doing a dry cure. And we talked about this on last time, a dry cure, even not trimming it until it's ready to go to market. That's why I really like the dry trimming bags, is because you can literally trim a pound or two within 15 minutes if you just have it prepared and ready to go for that next process. So that, for me, not harvesting it early enough, like Dave said, not trimming it too early, be patient, build in a system and process for properly incorporating a drying process, and then letting your market wait, saying, hey, listen, it's not going to be ready. Don't rush the process, and then charge another $100 because it took more time to grow it. You know what? I'd love to hear you guys' opinion then on our old topic, our original topic we brought up was, why do you think people get a hay taste or smell after harvesting? And we talked about a couple of things, but I'd love to hear yours, and then I'll share some of the stuff we talked about earlier.
There's two things that cause that: transformation of the chloroform and humidity turning into moisture. What the fuck? I know the French word, but the English word is it's rotting.
Yeah, I have something to say. Maybe like if you dry too fast, I would say something like that would happen if you have a fan directly blowing on your buds while it's drying, then the chlorophyll doesn't break down, like the previous person said.
And did you hear? Did you hear that earlier, or you just heard what you just said? What Mike said, right?
No, I just joined. Joined right now. This is the first time I speak.
You guys said exactly what we said, toe for toe.
It happened to me. It happened to me. So I had to learn from the mistakes.
Ricky, I think right there you got two groups that had no connection right there that said the exact same thing why the hay smell is created. I think so. I think you can figure out now exactly what you got to do to fix it.
I'm sorry. Hello,
Yeah.
you guys.
What, Mike?
I was wondering, do you agree with what I'm saying? It's the sugars in the chlorophyll. They're going into, how do you say, not rotting, but what's the English word there? Fermenting.
Fermenting, 100%. I completely agree with you. We were exactly what Ant said. Ant said too. You dry too fast, moisture gets caught in the center of that flour, and it starts to oxidize the center of that flour, breaking it down from the inside out. When you want to suck that moisture out from the outside, from the inside out, it gets trapped because it dries too fast. And then also what we were talking about, I think one thing was doing a wet trim. I think that also it damages the THC molecule. So basically, when you're trimming it, you're basically cutting off the terpene. So it has less. And then also when you harvest too early, you have more chlorophyll exactly than flower ratio.
Yeah,
Yeah, basically, if you went too fast on the drying and you put it in the bag, the humidity will spread out and the sugars will deteriorate your terpenes.
That's very interesting. I think he just nailed it. He just said exactly how you need to say it. The sugars start the fermentation process and breaks down the oil.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys, have a great girl. Over time, the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, these are going to be linked to videos and like pictures. So if you weren't sure what it was and you think it might be something, you click here, it'll pop open into a video breaking it down for you.